It's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. I am taking the opportunity during Storm Dennis to do lots and lots of filming, so I'm really sorry if there are noises off, but we are right in the middle of it at the moment, so sorry. Anyway, I'm going to be using items from the annual catalogue. Remember that? I know. Who would think? I'm going to be using the Designer Series paper, the Pressed Petals Designer Series paper. This, if you remember, is the paper that is lighter weight, and you get masses. You get 24 sheets for just £13 rather than the usual 12 sheets for, what is it, £10.75. So if you want lots of paper, this is the way to go, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I'll be using this. I'll also be using the Rococo Rose ribbon that goes with the suite, which is, ooh, can only just see it, this one here. So yes, I love it. Anyway, so what am I making? Well, I've made one already, and I made this out of the Heartfelt paper. But I've used the diagonal stripe, so it's less Valentine's, and I've made it as a thank you card, or as a thank you bag rather, with this rather cute little fold at the top, and that's what I'm going to be doing again in this what I would call standard weight of paper. This is quite, it's not difficult, but it is quite interesting to manipulate. So I'm hoping, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm hoping in this paper it will be a little easier. And I've used, for the sentiment, I've used the So Sentimental bundle, because this is the bundle that goes with, I've pulled out the one that goes with it. I love these. I mean, you get these layering rectangles, but with the scallop edge, so it's stitched and scalloped, which is just so pretty. But you also get these labels, and they layer. So as you can see here, I've taken the two largest ones and layered them together. And I've used from yesterday's Top Tip Tuesday the embossing in colour. It's going to be interesting to see how it works on Very Vanilla, because I'm going to be using Very Vanilla for this project, because that's the colour that is behind the pressed petal paper. So I've got a piece of paper that is 12 inches by 11.5, and I'm going to grab my scoreboard and I'm going to try and be very gentle with this. Actually, I'm going to start with the 12 inches at the top. This is a thinner weight paper, so do be gentle. I'm going to start by scoring at 2 inches, but I'm not putting much pressure on my scoring tool. And then I'm going to go at, oh, I've forgotten, I think it's 3.5 inches. Let me measure, should have written it down. Yes, it is. It's 3.5 inches. And then we're going in 2 inches, so 5.5 inches, another 3.5, so 9 inches, and then another 2, so that's 11 inches. So that's our basic scoring. I'm now going to start constructing the bag, and then I will be coming back to do some more. Oh, I've just remembered some more scoring. But before I do that, I'm going to turn over the other side. Now, this is a 2-inch strip, so I'm going to come in at 1.5 on the opposite side. I'm going all the way down to the 2-inch score line, and then here again is the 2-inch side. So that's between 6 and 8, so I'm going to score at 7, so that I have an inch at the score line. And that's just going to help when we come to put the bag together. That will help with this bend here. I'm not actually going to fold on the score line, but I am going to, it's going to be useful to have it there. So I'm just going to fold on the score lines that I did to begin with. And ignore the ones that I've just done on the reverse side. And I'm not going to use my bone folder for this, because it is a lighter weight paper, so I don't think I need to use my bone folder to emphasize the crease. I think a finger will do very nicely, thank you very much. Okay, I cannot believe this storm. It is, we had one last weekend as well. I think we're supposed to be in the UK. We don't do storms. So I really don't know why we've got a second storm. All I can hope is, I didn't fold that terribly straight. All I can hope is that we don't end up with the river flooding, because although my husband and I live 50 feet above the level of the river, it could mean that we can't get in or out of the village, which is okay, but it's a little inconvenient. So I'm going to cut straight down my score lines, and then I will be doing a little bit of wedging in. They're not the easiest things to see. I do apologise. Is it going to be clearer? It might be easier on this side for you to see marginally. I do generally like to cut on the wrong side, but I think it is marginally easier for you to see on this side. It's always the problem with pattern paper, is that the pattern gets in the way. So I'm just taking off that little 1/2 inch bit at the bottom and wedging, and then again wedging at the top. And then on these squares I'm going to do a very, 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 very slight wedge, but I am talking about a hair of a smidge, just so that everything sits together neatly. And because this is lightweight paper, I'm going to try with snail rather than tear and tape or liquid adhesive. The liquid adhesive, I think, may buckle the paper a wee bit, and tear and tape, I think, may be overkill, which is why I'm hoping that snail will work okay. It is a permanent adhesive, but we'll see. So let me just run snail down the edge there, and whoops, went off the edge. And I'm actually going to run it down the inside of the edge as well, because I want the adhesive to go all the way to the edge, and I think by running it down both I've got more chance of some of it being on the edge, or apparently not. Okay, so went over the edge a little bit, so it's quite good to go over the edge. So all I'm going to do is, because it's a square bag, I'm just going to fold it in half, and then the lines will just meet up really nicely. Okay, so now I want to just bend in at the top, and we've got these score lines which will help with that. So that's useful. And then grab my scoreboard again, and I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5, and then turn over and score at 1, 2, 3, and 4 inches. We may need to put an extra one in, but I can do that by hand. So, back and front. Where's the join? So this is the back, so that's going to go in first, but first I'm going to fold in the 2 side pieces, then this, and then this, and just to make sure that we've got things sticking nicely, I'm going to add some snail on the first of the large rectangles to go in. I'm not going to worry about the small rectangles, small squares rather. I'm just going to pop that there, and then here, and then I can get into it and reinforce the glue. I cannot believe how much rain's coming down and how windy it is. I know for those of you who live in countries where you get really, really tough weather, what we've got is probably nothing, but we don't have the infrastructure. It's a bit like when we have 2 inches of snow and everything grinds to a shuddering halt. Because we're not used to having snow, we don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. But yeah, right, so this is the back, and all I want to do is, and at this point I will be bringing in my bone folder, I'm going to, actually I didn't want to go that way, did I? I wanted to go that way. Love it when I actually concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm going to concertina my folds, although actually it doesn't matter which way you go, because one side's going to be right and one side's going to be wrong from which side have you dented it. So if you remember my Top Tip Tuesday about which way you should fold your card, the same applies to paper, but as I just use the scoring tool right the way through, it doesn't really apply in this case, because one side it will be going right and the other side it would be going wrong. But as this is the front of the bag, it feels as if I should at least get that right. Okay, so then this all squishes together, and then, yes, I want to do one more just there, and then get my ribbon. Now it's going to be slightly trickier with the lighter weight bag because it hasn't got the structure of itself, if you like, because obviously it's a lighter weight paper, but it should still work. So what I want to do is grab my Rococo Rose gathered ribbon. This is Rococo Rose, and it's a sort of goldy coppery, it's sort of rose gold, I think would be my thought on this. And then I think only I would be the person that decides to record videos during a storm. But there we go. Anywho, I'm not going to worry about how this top is looking at this point. What I want to do at this point is just tie it in a bow, and then I can sort out where everything is going. But what I do want is to tie my bow correctly. That would always be a good idea, wouldn't it? What I do want is for it to be tight. I'm all fingers and thumbs. Right over left. And I also want it to be towards one side. So if I've gone right over left, I now need to go left over right. Which of course I'm not going to do. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut a length. That would make life easier, wouldn't it? Dear, oh dear. See, the camera goes on and I'm completely useless when it comes to tying a bow. That's more like it. I keep forgetting I've got this ribbon, and I think it is beautiful. I still haven't tied that bow right, but I think it is one of the most beautiful ribbons that we have done. No, I'm definitely not tying this right. Let's do it this way up. Might have a little more success. That's more like it. That's better. Normally I find it easier to tie ribbons the wrong way up, but for some reason today I'm finding it easier to tie my ribbon the right way up. So can you hear that against my window light, my roof lights? It's just ridiculous. Okay, so then we can concertina and fan our top so it's nice and pretty. And I'll cut the ends later. But now I want to do the stamping. So I've got a scrap of Very Vanilla, and because I'm going to be heat embossing, first thing I'm going to do is add some embossing buddy, and then here's my stamp, which again is the I Can't Thank You Enough, and Versamark. And you want a good covering of Versamark, and then my Rococo Rose. Now this is a glycerin based ink, that if you're just gentle with the colour, it's fine. If you're worried, you can stamp with your Stamparatus and do the first stamping in the colour and the second stamping in the Versamark, but I'm perfectly happy to do this. And then probably need to get some more clear embossing powder. There we go, let's get rid of that. Otherwise I can see, today being like the day it is, things going horribly wrong. Right, and we're already on 15 minutes, so I'm about to make noise. So while I'm making noise is a perfect time for you to think about subscribing. You'll find a subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So you want to go just down there. And this is where, if I'm really lucky, we won't have a power cut until I've finished filming. We do get them quite regularly in the village. So yes, power cuts are something that we weren't used to until we moved here. And now we are. They're normally very, very short, but just long enough to, you know, disturb everything. Okay, so I'm just going to run this through my die cutting machine. I use the word machine as if it's electric. It's not, it's manual. Okay, oh, come on. There we go. So there we are. Now, can I get the light on this? Can you see how glossy that is? Yay! Really pretty. I have already die cut, she says somewhere, there it is, in the green vellum from the Perennial Essence. I've die cut the larger piece, and I'm just going to add this to this with dimensionals, and then adhere the whole thing to the front of my bag. And because I've got the card over the top of the vellum, it means that the adhesive that I'll be putting on won't show through. It's always quite useful to have some card over the top of your vellum if you're worried about the adhesive showing through, which is no, why wouldn't you be worried? So pop that on and then grab my snail and just add that. Now this vellum is really handy because it's sort of two-sided. You can see that it's really bright that side and not as bright this side, which is great because it means that you can choose which side you want to use. There we go. So as I say, I will sort out the ribbon for photographs, but there we go. Two really cute little bags with the concertina. This absolutely is easier to use than this, so I would very much encourage you to use the pressed petal paper. It is the most gorgeous paper and really easy to make these bags with. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Do remember, if you need to order anything and you're in the UK, you can see there's a link to my online store below. There's also a link to the associated blog post below.